Hello everyone, and welcome back to my Legend of Alex world. For those of you who don't know, this is my Minecraft Legend of Zelda inspired adventure map, and today we are going to be continuing on Hyrule Castle. I will admit that at the time of recording this, the castle is, well, the main room is already done, so I am down here so that way you don't see any spoilers. Hee. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump right back in where I left off. Alright, now before we get into actually building all of the statue and all of the stairs and stuff like that, the next thing I want to do is actually address some of these that change. So these ones look accurate, but on these front two, for some reason, there's this big brass medallion that sits over the top of this symbol here. And on that brass medallion thing is the symbol of the royal family, the royal family crest. The other change I have to somehow implement is, for some reason, on this pier right here in particular, it's like an extra thick pier. This one's going to be extra thick, so all the way down at the base, it looks like it's even just an extra thick rectangle. It's going to stick out a ways, and then it's actually going to make a big Roman arch. Now, when I was doing the planning for this, rather than having this space be twice as big as one of these aisles, I'm not sure if you noticed, but it is actually 3 times as big. You can fit 3 aisles in here. I did that on purpose because it looks like this space needs to be divided by 3, but it does mean that my Roman arch is going to be a little bit taller than I anticipate, I suspect, but it looks like that in the game too, so I'm just, because it doesn't look like it's the same size as these guys, it looks like it's bigger, so I'm not opposed to that sizing, but we'll have to do that and make some more substantial piers here. Alright, so the next thing I want to add to this pier is that it looks like there's a design going up where it's a whole bunch of squares going all the way up to the very top. But I'm not really sure how to add those without getting rid of the entire gradient here. Because I could very easily just, come in and make little squares indented. Oop. Although I do run into the issue of not being able to put anything there, but you get what I mean. I can make little squares going all the way up, but in doing so I completely remove the gradient. That's not entirely a bad thing. You do still get the gradient behind it, so I'll try it and see how much I like it. Well, I can make a circle pretty easily. Whoever decided that vertical slabs shouldn't be in the game, shame on you. Shame on you. Because the other option is to do this with the stairs, and that just makes it, well, for one thing, it looks like a bit of a face right now. Eye and a nose and a big smiley face. It just doesn't... It's not a square, and you recognize instantly, hey, that's not a square, and so no amount of fixing is going to make that look like a square. Circles it is! I tried really, really hard to actually blend it in with the gradient so that wasn't horribly lost. You can kind of tell that there's a pattern from this side, but I figure that's not such a big deal. I think the big giveaway is these trapdoors, but there's really no better alternative. Alright, so now all we have to do is we have to take the base of this is the springer, because obviously that's where that arch starts, and we're going to have to come up with a semicircle that makes it all the way across this space. There we go. Good enough. See, now the tricky part is that my circles that are supposed to go all the way up here are supposed to continue up the curve. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make that happen. It probably won't happen, but I'll try it anyway. Well, I mean, it works. It's not the prettiest looking thing, but it at least gives the general idea that the pattern that you see there continues up to the top. And I think that's all I really need it to do. Alright, now we can start going ahead and building up this platform where our statue is going to sit on. The stairs leading up to there, stairs leading up to either side here, and then of course the stairs leading up to the door that will lead to our throne room. So it kind of looks like the top of our stairs are actually going to meet up with our pillar here. So that means I kind of want the top of the stairs to be here and leading down this way. It's obviously not going to be quite so high, but to be honest, I'm having kind of a hard time determining just how high this platform is going to be. I want the platform to be the same size as this, which means that my staircase is going to be that big. It almost feels a little bit squishy, but I think it'll part of that is just because of this pier being in the way. So I think it'll work out. It will kind of block, the stairs are going to come down and kind of block this aisleway here a little bit, but that's by design. That's how it looks to be in the game. It also looks like the stairs come and meet down with this first pillar here. So I'm going to say that this is my starting spot. So I suppose the best way to go about finding how big this platform is going to be just building some stairs up from here to there and see where I end up. The other question is, do I use the actual stair blocks or do I use slabs? I tend to be more partial to using slabs when I can. They feel more natural to me as an incline. But I'll try both and see which one I prefer. Okay, I've gotten this far into placing these stairs, and I can already tell that that slope is going to end up like way up there. It's going to be a bit taller than I would want it to be. So I think I'm going to switch to using slabs. The other thing I have to figure out how to do is that very clearly on these staircases, that's where the carpet's going to be going up. So I actually want to extend the carpet this way and then have it go up both stairs. And the problem is that of these blocks, the only ones I can actually turn into slabs are the nether bricks and sort of the, I could use the mangrove slab, which is a little bit off, but I think that'll be okay. But you won't be able to get any of this bright red color, and I don't care about the netherrack. Now the real question is, what do I use for the sides of these blocks? This is going to have a platform jutting out, and I don't want it to just be more of the same floor pattern. So I'm kind of leaning more towards using this basalt. I know it's introducing a completely different color to my color palette here, but I don't see this floor level being the same color as what I used for the walls. It certainly isn't in Wind Waker, it's more of a slate gray color, but then again the entire floor in Wind Waker is supposed to be that same slate gray color. So I think I'm just going to stick with the smooth basalt for now, and if I hate it, I'll change it later. There's maybe something a little bit disconcerting about having the rug going under the architecture. Okay, fine, that does look better. I'm really sorely tempted to put a button here for decoration. This is supposed to be a spot where the royal crest is supposed to go. But I just know that the moment I put a button there, somebody's going to try to push it. I mean, I could have it, like, I don't know, open up like that and maybe have a secret chest underneath with a cookie inside. Ho ho. There we go. We'll just reward the player's curiosity. Bam! Chest. Oh. Hey now. Darn trapdoors and them done ruining everything. Fine. Never mind. Though, just for funsies, I am going to have a note at the beginning of the game that says don't flip trapdoors unless it is an oak trapdoor. So if you ever see an oak trapdoor, this is my way of saying, hey, there's something hidden here. And I don't think people will notice that unless they are up on this platform or looking down at it from above, and then they'll be like, cookie! Yay, cookie! So we'll go ahead and sneak that in. I suppose instead of putting a button here, what we ought to do is just put, like, a light here. Just to sneak in more lighting anyway, because this place is going to be hopelessly dark. So something I have to change completely here now is, up above here, unlike all of the other sections that have the 1, 2, 3 little holes in it, this one is actually divided in half, just like this one is. So I have to take this same design down here and basically squidge it up to here. And the reason being is that our stairwell going up here is actually going to be in the second half, coming down here to then meet with a platform here, and then more stairs going down. And I need to know where this platform is going to go, and the best way to do that is actually to just, you know, build my stairs from the top, see where I need to have a landing, and then build the stairs down. But that means I need to rip all of this out and completely redo it for this area up here. Well, that was predictably messy. And kind of a pain. But it's done. It's done, and I don't think anybody will bat an eye at it. It's just... yeah. Alright, I'm going to have to use some stair blocks somewhere. I think just doing the slabs isn't going to work. Yeah, these stairs are going to just have to be steeper than I would like them. Normally I would want them to be the same slope as that guy over there, but I just don't have enough room for it. As it is, this one you're coming off of the stairs and having to make kind of a sharp turn to get back down, but you have to do that anyway according to the pictures of the actual build, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. There we go. Something I should reconsider here. I actually wanted there to be a room down here. I wanted there to be a doorway here, that then you could wrap around, come over here, and then a hallway in the back. And I think I still want to do that. So what I ought to do is, instead of just beefing it up and leaving it empty underneath, what I should do is take more of these blocks and just drop them down and completely make a wall right here, level with those stairs. And that should give me enough room to then put in an entryway to a hallway leading underneath. There we go. And if I'm looking for placement of statues, I probably wouldn't put them on the stairs. Instead, I'd probably put them right here. This seems like a good statue spot, right along there. I do worry that basalt is maybe a little bit too dark for up there. I'm wondering if I need to switch it out. I'm wondering if I need to maybe switch that out. I never claimed to be particularly good at building statues. It's kind of like an ogre or like an oversized baby holding a spear and a shield. Aha, yeah, not great. I don't know, but I do feel like there needs to be something here. Right now that big wall just feels too empty. So I like having something there. Perhaps the andesite is in poor taste. I might well, not might. I would have to completely use something else. I might actually use the deep slate since I am using it down there. It might make a good addition up there and create more contrast. Right now the andesite is too similar in value to the back wall. Other than that, the only thing interior-wise for me to build is actually there's supposed to be a bridge going from this side over to here. And it does look like it makes more pillars. This is one of the reasons I divided the room in three. In the center here is because there's going to be a pillar there and another one right there. Just to actually hold up this weird bridge that goes across. And I think that'll divide up the space more evenly and provide more maneuverability as you can go around there. And I will actually add in the doors out front that will lead to the balcony level on the outside of the actual castle, similar to what I had before. So yeah, I think once those are done and my statues are done, pretty much the entire interior of this room is done, and then I have to just implement walls and start building the exterior around it. I mean, it's better. It's still not good, but it's marginally better. I think I can leave that and people will ignore just how awful it is. I'm hoping so. I think the main focus is going to be on the big statue, so hopefully these little ones can be a little bit disregarded. I decided to go with the sword held in the air look instead. Alright, so I went ahead and put in this second floor here. I am a little bit worried that it does make this area a little bit squishy. This is supposed to be the front entrance coming in over here. But I do like having this bridge here, so I'm gonna keep it. Alright, so now the next thing we have to do is put in our giant wagon wheel thing that they have randomly. I think the wagon wheel is supposed to be connected to some of these, but I wasn't sure how to connect that without just like having this bridge basically encompass this entire side. But the bridge doesn't look that big to me, so I'm gonna keep it as this little thin thing, and I guess we'll just have some floating wagon wheel things. But the main thing we have to do is make a little semicircle there, and then big spokes that lead up to a wagon wheel. It's a ring that's gonna come around there. It's really weird, not gonna lie. It's probably the strangest feature they added to the Wind Waker version of Hyrule Castle, but I'm gonna keep it in just so that way it is as true to the game as I am willing to get it. Bam! Wagon wheel thingy. It's not the prettiest, but it's effective. It's kind of a weird thing, but it looks accurate enough that I think I'm going to leave it. Now to move on to these weird medallion thingies, and to be honest, I think one of the reasons I've been putting it off is that I've been having a hard time trying to determine what color to make it. I think the closest color I can come to the weird bronzy color is going to have to be the waxed block of copper, which we do have in our floor already, but it is a very orangey color, as opposed to the warm, deep gold color of brass, which is what it's supposed to be. That's a bit more orange than I would like, but it's actually not bad. So I think I'm just gonna keep it and leave it as is. Yeah, I changed my mind, and I may yet change it again. This time we get pumpkins! I just feel really weird about having these giant metal things basically attached to the wall somehow. Like, they're not even small enough to be considered shields. These things are huge. By all accounts, this is just weird. I'm almost wondering if I should instead replace them with, like, big tapestries that hang down, because that would be cooler in my opinion. But for now, I think I'm going to go ahead and move on and build the statue here. Now, I know in Wind Waker the statue is a statue of Link, but you also have to keep in mind that Wind Waker occurs after Ocarina of Time, which Ocarina of Time Link is probably the most renowned of the Links. Before then, I don't think he was particularly well known. The only Link that came before that, as far as we know, is Skyward Sword Link, and he's more recognized by the symbol of the bird, and that seems to be more of a standard royal family symbol. So that's kind of what I'm leaning forward to, is trying to make this instead be the bird from with maybe a Triforce in the middle. I actually have that exact same symbol down here already for my fountain. But I'm kind of wondering if I should do another one, but have it more bird-like, and so have it actually come forward, make an actual proper bird face. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do. It may or may not turn out. I am not well known for my statue making, so we'll see how it goes. All right, one loftwing as ordered. I think the trickiest thing about this is trying to make sure that it's not just flat and on one angle, and trying to actually make it curve and come out to the side. That way it looks a little bit more interesting. I was trying to use some of the reference pictures of an actual loftwing from Skyward Sword, since I figured that's what this statue is actually supposed to be of here. I think it frames the area nicely, and I much prefer that to just a standard statue of basically the hero in the center. So I think it works. I think it's good. Just as a proof of concept, this is more of like what I was thinking for almost like a tapestry sort of thing. Part of the problem with cloth is very rarely does cloth hang straight down. It usually bunches and curves, which then when you're dealing with blocks means that they stick out kind of oddly in places. And in general, this works better on a larger scale. It looks a little bit silly on this little tiny thing. Though I gotta say, the more I look at this thing, the more I hate it. One of the problems is that the main angles you're going to be viewing it from are from below. And I gotta say, from down here, looking at the weird blocks jutting out and stuff, you can't see the Triforce pattern at all, for one thing. It looks more like a jumbled mess, and you have a hard time trying to distinguish exactly what it is, other than vaguely, that might be a tapestry up there. So, I'm not going to leave this for you. I think I'm going to make the decision and just get rid of it and stick with the medallion design that is part of the original Wind Waker design anyway. Alright, so now that I've got pretty much all of the elements of the interior here figured out, I should probably finish building the actual structure of this room. Starting with, let's go ahead and top off this roof. Now, ordinarily I would just put a barrel vault over this, but as you can see, that would kill some of my decorations that I've got up here. And besides that, looking at Wind Waker here, that's not a barrel vault. You'll remember in my Romanesque video I mentioned that sometimes the Romanesque builds just had an A-frame roof underneath, and that's exactly what it looks like it does in Wind Waker here. So, yeah, at this point all we need to do is build up these areas up above the, our arches, our Roman arches here. For some reason they have little windows carved into there, which is a purely decorational thing. I suppose it doesn't really matter. That's not really holding up the roof that much at this point. It's just kind of random to put little windows in between in the same room. But, you know, it's kind of neat. But more importantly, the only windows I can actually locate in the original design here are these little tiny squares that go up above here. So that's what we're going to go ahead and raise up. I don't think I need to go too high with this thing. Maybe 5 blocks at most. And then I can put in our windows. Alright, I've got all of my windows in place. I'm going to be increasing the girth of this wall, so right now they look a little bit thin, but otherwise I think we're good. I don't know how any light is getting in here, honestly. This is going to be really super dark. I'm quite worried about putting a roof on this thing, because I just know that this entire thing is going to go dark, and it will make me very, very sad. Because right now our only lights are, there's a light there, there's some lights up there, and I am planning on putting torches, which is something else that I need to come up with, is some sort of torch design that I want to put along the wall, that I want to put along by the pillars going along here. But I worry that this is going to be really, really super dark. But I won't know until I throw a roof onto it, so let's go ahead and do that. The main thing we need to do is, it looks like there is a solid wooden beam that runs across the top of this, and then yeah, just an A-frame roof. And that should be it, honestly. Whee! There are probably better ways of doing this, but this is kind of fun. Whee! Well, this was predictable. It's so dark. I knew it. Alright, torch design. Now something I did before, and this is something I could maybe do in some spots, is I had in places like, I would have a wall, and then I would place, you know, just a wall with a campfire on top. And while I think that makes for a good wall torch design, I don't think it makes a particularly good floor torch design. I think partially because the campfire section of it is a little bit distracting. So while I am going to use it for wall torches, I don't think I want to use it for floor torches. So we're going to have to come up with something a little bit more unique. I am particularly fond of the idea of taking netherrack and setting it on fire to burn eternally, and then surrounding it in other blocks. That way you can't actually see the netherrack. I'm not finding netherrack. That's because it's not in that tab. So anyway, the general gist would be, then that would be our big fat boy torch design thing. It's functional. It's an option. I kind of wish that I could find something a little bit thinner than that, though. So here's my big fat boys in place. I do feel like they need to be maybe a little bit darker than just pure sandstone. Maybe something darkish there on the centers of them. Yeah, alright, I like that better. They're effective, they work, but I am running into the problem of they don't illuminate that much. I might end up having to put in some light blocks or trying to poke holes in the sky just because it's going to be really, really dark. Let me mess around with lighting and see what I can accomplish. And Shell said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Haha. Now obviously it's really, really hard to judge lighting when you have an entire wall poked out. That's basically like having windows all along that side. So I went ahead and filled in this entire wall. It's just, you know, big flat wall with a bunch of gradients shoved onto it. And I'm not going to be putting any windows down here, so this gives us a good idea of what this bottom floor looks like. It's still really, really dark. Something I'm trying to decide whether I want to do is I'm trying to decide if I should take this big brazier looking thing and stick it in these gaps between the pillars here. It would be very much out of the way, and that would probably be the easiest solution, but it does seem kind of odd to take the main front braziers, the really large things, and put them in little dinky things on the sides. Another option is I could take some of these little tiny torches and just stick them on the walls, but I might also play with other options for lighting as well. Now, another option I'm sure some of you are thinking about is, of course, I don't have to use netherrack to have the everlasting burning flame, assuming I have fire tick off, which I might very well have off. So there are some design choices I could do with something like this. I just haven't found anything that I particularly like using that. Alright, fine, the big fatso braziers will have to do. Now for the upper floor, I do think I want to actually add some windows up here, but they're not going to be very big windows. Kind of thinking maybe something like that big. Alright. So while those windows work just fine, I'm not sure I want to put windows here and here because our rhythm is being interrupted because we had sets of 3 and suddenly we're dropping it at 2. So that means that from the outside, suddenly those windows would alter drastically. So I'm kind of thinking of instead of doing windows here, maybe dropping in more of those braziers. What do you think? Something else I should probably be accounting for with these windows is that I'm planning on having the wall be a little bit thicker than this. I'm not sure I want this really, really stark gradient on the outside of the build. I do want to have some gradient, but maybe not this much. And I'd like to be able to have, you know, a layer of glass and then the outside layer. So at the very least, I think my wall is going to come out to this level instead. And that is going to reduce the light levels inside here. And yeah, as expected, this back hallway here is really dark now. I think it's not the worst because there is illumination over here. But I am wondering if I should add some of those torches at least to like right here on the piers or something. Just to, like the wall torches, I mean. Just to add some sort of illumination. I also note that that brazier lights up that back pillar, so when you're standing all the way back here, it looks like there's something important there. It's the video game logic. Oh, it's glowing, that must be important. But there's nothing there. So that's a problem as well. That would be remedied if I more equally lit up this whole hallway. Windows are nice, but I need more. When in doubt, spam torches! That's obviously the solution here, right? Right? Alright, maybe some of these are a little bit overkill. It does illuminate it a little bit more evenly when I light up all of the pillars. I didn't want to do the ones on this side just because it looked really weird to have torches on both sides of that pillar for some reason. But I'm honestly not a fan of just how many torches there are. I think I'm going to remove all of the ones that are on the pillars here. Except for the pillar at the very end. This guy can stay. But you'll notice it does get kind of dark in here. But I think I'm okay with that. Alright, now that we've got our side walls in place, and now we need to actually do our back wall. Our back wall and our front wall here. I have a better idea of what that back wall looks like though, so I'm going to try to do that one first. Hee, you can see where my outline is for the arch on the other side. Anyway, so I went ahead and put in this wall here, but I am running into some issues. I think the first problem is that I think I was counting on having this wall even with the center of this pillar. And what that means is that there is a very obvious gap here between the stairs and the wall. And while I could fill it over here, like I just keep continuing the pattern of the floor over this way, and then build like an archway for the door. Technically speaking, there is supposed to be a really weird apse sticking out of this wall before the doorway. But I will admit that that makes more sense with it going outside in Wind Waker. It doesn't really make sense to have an apse jutting into an interior wall, if that makes sense. Because then it would stick into the next room. So it actually would make more sense to leave this flat and then maybe make a little archway for the door. So that's probably what I'll go ahead and do there. I don't like having this just like sticking out of the wall. So what I think I'm going to end up doing is just grabbing this entire wall and moving it so that way it's even with this center of that arch. It does mean you get rid of the design on there, but it might be for the best. Yep, that looks better to me. It does make me really wish I could fit an apse in here. But logistically, you look at what it would take to make an arch going that way. It would have to be 1, 2, and then 1, and then 1, 2, and that would be the back wall. Yeah, not horribly unreasonable, but you look at that would be how much of a gap I would need between this room and the next room. You don't get big gaps like that between rooms normally, so I think that's the big worry, is it would be a little bit strange just having it stick out. So, it's only a couple blocks, but I think that's a couple blocks more than I would like. Alright, now all we need to do is put our big Triforce symbol on the back wall here. Now according to Wind Waker, this is just going to look like one of these, maybe a little bit bigger, and just slapped in the back wall up here. I'm partially tempted to try to do the tapestry thing again. I worry that it's going to fail, but I do have a slightly larger area to work with, and I feel like a tapestry would just make more sense and potentially look nicer. So I'm going to try that first. And if that fails, then I'll just do another circle thing. No big loss. Ooh, well, here's my tapestry design. I don't know how good it is per se, but it's effective. I think the worst part of it is it deforms the closer you get to it, because it's just kind of blobbish over here. But that really only affects you looking at it from here, and even then it's not horrible. So viewing it from the second story, and also viewing it from directly below, is a little bit odd, I will admit. But it's not the worst. It definitely looks just fine from far away, so, you know, back here, where you're most likely going to be viewing it, looks alright, I think. I guess the only other worry I have with this particular design is that some of the wing shape on the bird loses a little bit of definition. Mostly because, you know, from here you can see the outline of it pretty distinctly against the back wall. But the moment that you drop down to here, it gets lost in those reds. So the only thing I could imagine doing would be to either push the value of the statue to be either a lighter color or a darker color right at the tips of those wings. But that might look a little bit odd because there is no gradient in the rest of the statue there. So I don't know if that would work at all. Well, it has a gradient now. I don't know if it's any good, but I do feel better about being able to see the tips of the wings at least. And of course, if I pushed the highlights, that meant I also had to push the shadows as well. So, yeah, one thing led to another. This whole bird is completely covered with different textures and colors now. It's probably improved it. Probably. It's different, that's for sure. Speaking of gradients, you want to know what looks terrible because it doesn't have a gradient? That's right, this roof is terribly flat. Some of that would have been alleviated if I had been able to keep the shadows, but because I had to poke so many holes in it, it's letting in a lot of light, and it's just really, really bright and feels out of place. So let's go ahead and change that, shall we? And here you can see my very sophisticated, well thought out process for placing blocks here. In case you're wondering how I do my gradients, yeah, this is like 90% of it. There we go. I feel better about that. So now all we have to do is install some cross beams into this thing, and I think we've got a decent enough roof. I seem to be playing a very dangerous game of dodge the holes in the roof. There we go. I think that works alright. And with that, the roof is done. I don't know, are the paintings on the wall too silly? They might be a bit too silly. I think that one's better than that one, but, yeah. Which begs the question, something I've been meaning to talk about is, I'm trying to determine if I need to do a resource pack for this game. I don't want anything that'll change any of the blocks. I'm particularly fond of using the base colors for everything, and that way you can ensure that pretty much anybody who comes in and looks at the map will see the same thing you're seeing. But there are some things like paintings and things like some of the mob skins that might dictate that I use some of the other that dictate that I might want to use a resource pack of some sort. Specifically, my thought is along the lines of I am planning on having Gerudo, and I was going to use pillagers as Gerudo, but the pillagers, as you know, go horror, horror. But the Gerudo are all supposed to be female, so it seems really, really odd to have all of the female Gerudo being like horror. So I'm not sure. I might end up using a resource pack, but it might be just for little changes, like, making my own painting I can slap up on the wall. You know, stuff like that. Yeah. Pretty much any sort of pixel art I'm going to be able to do in this tiny 5x5 square is just going to turn into a mosaic mess. I'm not going to be able to make anything even remotely recognizable out of this, I don't think. Womp womp. Well. Yeah, I maybe spent way too much time trying to make these stupid pixel arts that you can't even decipher anything out of. It's supposed to be a close-up of the King of Hyrule on the right, and what looks like a family portrait on the left. Yeah, you can't make out any of that kind of details here, so, And with that, I think it's safe to say that this room is officially done. There's of course things like the missing back wall over here, but for all intents and purposes, this room is pretty well completed. We of course need to still do the outside, but we can continue that in another episode. For now, I hope that you've enjoyed watching me blunder around until I got something that looks pretty good. And if you have any suggestions for me, or comments or concerns, please let me know. And I will see you in the next episode. Goodbye!